Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Councillor Olson. Here. Councillor Fennessy. Here. Councillor Bender. Here. Councillor Sweeney. Here. Councillor McDonald. Here. Councillor Mazzolia. Here. Councillor Finsland. Here. Councillor Herrick. Here. Councillor McKenzie. Here. Councillor Dahlbeck. Here. Councillor Nowicki. Here. And Councillor Kadat.
Recognize a quorum. I'll proceed, and I'll ask for the consideration of the minutes from the November 5th council meeting. Heard a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item number 6 is a consent agenda. There is one gentleman signed up. He would like to make a few comments under 6.4, if you would be willing to separate that item out.
I'll make a motion to that effect. Second.
Heard a motion to separate out 6.4 for appearance by a citizen.
Move on to the consent agenda, accepting 6.4.
Heard the motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 6.4.
Item 6.4 is a referral to the Public Works Committee. Councillor Dahlbeck is requesting consideration of a four-way stop at North 12th Street and Hammond Avenue. Mr. Curtis.
Okay. My name is Jack Curtis, and I operate the Supermarket at the corner of Broadway and Hammond. And my customers brought to my attention the difficult time they're having of getting through the intersection of Broadway and Hammond. And I know Councilwoman Dahlbeck probably sees it and has proposed a stop sign on 12th, which I'm not against that, but I am concerned that lack of control at Broadway is a bit of a challenge. They can't cross it, they can't turn left off it, and they can't turn left from Broadway onto it. And I do a reasonably good job of servicing the community there, and I get a lot of people walking in, biking in, and that has become a little bit of a challenge for them. I set a petition on the counter just to see if there's any interest, and in about 6 days we got 360 signatures that were, very concerned. I was pleased that they did it, although I did see President Obama did sign it once. So, the light at Winter Street, I would not argue against that. I would commend you for addressing the need of a business in the community, and that's why I'm here, hoping that you could see that in this intersection as well. I have a great respect for the DOT. Unfortunately, I've encountered them in Minnesota a couple times, and I know as an individual it's an incredibly daunting task to take on what may be a point of view that may disagree with their solutions. But when it comes to the social and community needs, you are the last hope, and the DOT is a challenging entity for me. They do a good job, but there are certain issues they may not be sensitive to. And that's a concern. I peeked at some 2010 DOT traffic data online, and I noticed that 15,200 cars come off the bridge and head to Broadway. Winter has about 1,600 on the west, 1,700 on the east. 12th is about 1,200, and Broadway is 5,100, or 4 times 12th or 3 times Winter. So to ignore the intersection of Broadway, and I don't know what the reasoning is, but it is a challenge. It's a popular road, well-constructed, variety of businesses on it. I would hate to see traffic rerouted through the neighborhood of 12th just to access Hammond, which is probably what they would end up doing. So I imagine the railroad signals complicate controlling Broadway, but there must be a way to do it, and I just beg you to consider that when it comes to the Broadway intersection. Thank you.
Well, my main concern is Broadway and Hammond. But the way I see it, all the traffic, yes, did go through Broadway and Hammond when we had the stop and goes. Now the stop and goes are moved. the traffic now is going Winter and Hammond. And I just thought the 12th Street four-way stop would relieve a lot of that congestion. And you can always go with the flow of the traffic. I live across Broadway, and I come to your station and get my gas. So I go to the easiest way to get to your station, and that is to Winter and then down to Hammond, take the stop and goes, and then come into your station. So it can be done.
I hope it is done. Like I mentioned, a convenience store only exists if it's convenient, and I do fear the extra effort to circle around to get there, so.
Well, your convenience store is in a very good location, and I mean, you know, it's not going. I don't think it's going to change any. People are a creature of habit. Once they get used to where the stop and goes are now, that's the way they'll go. And my concern was with all the congestion we're having on the street, 12th Street would be a good place to redirect the traffic. They go down Grand. It used to be there many, many years ago, and it did relieve a lot of the congestion. So, I mean, that was just my only way of thinking of how to do this.
Certainly, I understand. I didn't mean to criticize or argue with it,
but I'm just saying that it can be done if people would just get out of the habit of, now you can't use Broadway, go to Winter.
Councilor Finsland.
Yeah, the appropriate place for this discussion would be at the Public Works Committee meeting, and I make a motion to refer 6.4 to the Public Works. Should we need another referral for another sort of stop sign, that should be made by the councilor for consideration of another stop sign at Broadway and Hammond. But this motion is, this agenda item is only to refer the 12th Street and 12th and Hammond to the Public Works Committee. I think we should do that now.
I'll second that motion.
For a motion and a second for referral as motion by the Councilor Finsland. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Item 7.1, Police Chief LaJess is requesting authorization to purchase 3 2014 Ford Interceptor SUVs utilizing 2014 CIP money in order to order the cars in 2013, procuring the 2013 prices at an estimated cost of $102,600.
Heard a motion and second to approve. Discussion. Councilor Olson.
Do we have one of them in the parking lot already?
That is a 2014 Crown Victoria ordered in the spring of this year.
Oh, the SUV.
That's correct. It is an SUV. I'm so used to saying Crown Victoria.
So we bought it before we approved it?
No, that was approved in the spring of 2013. I'm requesting 3 more for 2014, but using 2013, getting it under the 2013 pricing.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 8.1, Mayor Hagan is submitting the Rental Property Study Committee report and recommendations and requesting a committee be created to carry out the recommendations and brought back to the council for further consideration.
First of all, I'd like to thank the ad hoc committee for the very fine, extended, and detailed work that they performed over a rigorous schedule. Chairwoman Brownsville, I appreciate your guidance on this, and I have the recommendation before me, and I know the council does, and I would appreciate the a motion to adopt, as well as the ability for us to refer back to what I would call a standing committee that is of citizen orientation to work through the recommendations by the ad hoc committee.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
Motion and second. Discussion. All in favor signify. Before I do, would you like to speak, Millie? I'm sorry.
Folks that know me, I'm never But I do want to echo the work of the committee, both the members that are here, the members that are at the table. It has been a rigorous schedule. We have reviewed previous studies. We've reviewed other cities. We've got further work we'd like to do in terms of getting more input from the community as a whole. But really, there's been countless hours put in by many people on this committee. I happen to be the chair because I don't think anybody else wanted it. But it has been a lot of time, both with weekly meetings and committee meetings outside of that, and I appreciate the help of everybody. I appreciate your support and the council support in putting together this effort. We have all obviously agreed that we do need something here in our community, and I think we all share a common goal of wanting people to live in Superior, come back to Superior, go to school, find decent housing, but really that's kind of our purpose, was to make Superior a better place to live in.
Thank you very much.
Say,
Counselor?
Millie, as long as you're up there, do you happen to have, if you could maybe just read those bullet points, it won't take more than a minute or two. You don't need to read the whole introduction, but just the bullet points so everybody knows what you're talking about.
What we looked at or what we'd like to do?
What we would like to do.
Well,
you kind of already covered
what we would like to do moving forward is we do feel that we need to have more input from the community, like I said. So we'd like to develop a survey that we could distribute to both landlords, tenants, other community groups. After those surveys, we'd like to also get more public input in terms of some forums, events where people can kind of express their concerns, ideas they might have. And of course, we give you several bullets on how we propose to do that. We appreciate the work of our committee, both in terms of police department, fire department, building inspection have all been working with us on this effort. So continuing to move forward with those departments so we have their perspective and their needs in mind. And we have talked about a need for whether it's a registration program or a licensing program, but that we do need something in our place in our community, both to identify rental properties within the city. That was one of kind of our barriers, to make sure that the housing units that people are living in are safe. But we also acknowledge that this is going to take a while. We want something that's well thought out, well planned before it's put into place. So we're not back here as we were several years ago before in our community with something that didn't work and didn't move forward.
Well, Millie, as a member of the committee, I would like to say thank you to all the hours that everyone on the committee invested. And I think you gave a good summary of that, and that was meetings in general, but also meeting in the committees to talk about our various and sundry assignments. And I know that this was every Wednesday, starting at 4 p.m., supposed to be done at 5, but usually got done sometime after 6. And so it was a long haul to get to this point. But again, I do want to thank everybody, and a number of committee members are here. Did you want to introduce them, Millie? Or?
Oh, sure.
You know, there's a lot to be said for public embarrassment.
We'll introduce Pete here from Building Inspection, as well as Lee, and then Mark, Ryan. Ryan, sorry. He's new. I haven't had the opportunity to work with him before this. And then we have Tammy from Code Compliance, Maria. And obviously in the back, we have Chuck that's with us on some of our meetings. We have Steve, two of the counselors, yourself and Mr. Fennessy next to you. So I think that has been one of our strengths of our group, is having a good representation of a variety of groups. We all have very different opinions. We have very different backgrounds. We see things from different sides. So it's been a pleasure working with all of you on this project. None of us could have done this alone.
And Millie, one that you forgot, because I know whenever I have to introduce, I always forget people, but Linda was also on the committee.
I'm not used to seeing you over there. So.
Thanks, Millie, very much. Thanks to the committee. Motion and second on the floor. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 9.1, Councilor Sweeney is requesting a general status update on all lawsuits the city is working on.
Councilor Sweeney, there are 2 lawsuits pending right now in which the city is a defendant, which is to say we've been sued. Both of those lawsuits involve basement flooding and sewer backups from the summer of 2012 rain event. One of those lawsuits has been brought by a property owner, and there's a scheduling conference on that matter next week, so no final hearing has been set. The other lawsuit on that, concerning that subject matter, has been brought by 5 homeowners, and we just had a scheduling conference on that matter last week. It's scheduled for trial in early August of 2014. And then there are 2 other matters that are pending right now in which the city is a plaintiff. In other words, we're doing the suing. And one of those concerns several years' worth of delinquent personal property tax obligations. And the other one concerns, and this is a common theme for us, unfortunately, damage to a traffic signal from a motorist vehicle collision. And those are in a much tighter schedule than the other 2. Those will resolve almost certainly before the first of the year. Those are the only 4 matters that we have pending at this time.
Thank you.
Item 10.1 is a resolution of the City of Superior appropriating the necessary funds for the operation of the general city government and the administration of the City of Superior for the year 2014 and authorizing and directing a tax levy to be spread on the tax roll of the City of Superior for the year 2013. You also have a handout from Finance Director Vito tonight.
I'd like to ask Director Vito to go over the handout that she just provided.
Sure. Thanks, Mayor. A comment on the actual resolution, if I could first. There's a really long typo in here, and Councilor Herrick brought this to my attention because he was reading. It's on the second page, and it's the last full sentence, and it says, as returned by the city assessor in the year 2013. There should be a period after that and nothing. The remainder of that sentence simply does not make sense, and I think it's been on this form and carried forward. It was on it last year. It's not needed, so I'm requesting a correction to this. And thank you, Councilor, for pointing that out. I also do have a handout tonight, and this is on the estimated tax levy, or not estimated levy, but estimated tax rate, I should say. And I just wanted to get this in your hands. I know everybody's wondering. You're hearing a lot about school levies, and we've had discussion recently on our own city levy. And there's a lot of information that we need to gather in the fall of the year so we can put this all together and actually know what the tax rate is. So I've put in bold here that this is still estimated at this point because we're waiting for one more piece of information, and that's the school tax credit, and we get that information from the state. That's the item that they said they were going to move it up from, I think they normally had a deadline of November 30th, and I believe they moved it back to November 20th. But there were some snafus that I won't get into, not on our end. We still don't have that number yet. And actually, it's only the 19th, so they're not technically late. But what I did was I looked at prior years to see where they were, where that tax credit was coming in, and the last couple years it's been a 3% increase. That's the assumption I've made now. Just going on past, so I can't guarantee it will be a 3% increase from last year. Could be lower. I don't think it will be higher. But what this sheet will show you is, I think, very closely where we will end up. And I highlighted the City of Superior. You'll actually see that our city tax rate is actually going down, 1.33%. And the other jurisdictions, the technical college is going down, our levy for a portion of the state budget going down, school and county are going up. And I won't really get into their budgets, but I know that the Douglas County increase relates to the issuance of some debt that they did for pension liabilities. Counselor Bender had asked if I would give an estimate of what this would mean for a home valued at $100,000. And so this estimate shows an increase of 25 cents on the tax rate, estimated to go from $21.94 per 1,000 in value to $22.19. And so for a $100,000 home, that would be $25.
$25 per month.
No, per year. Yes. So I would, I guess, open it up for questions on this.
Counselor?
Yeah, Gene, so this increase is based on the school system and the county. The increase doesn't have anything to do with the city.
Absolutely correct. Yes.
And do we, and I would imagine we don't know what the mill rate is going to be at this point.
Well, the mill rate, I've got the estimate of $22.19, and that will change if the school tax credit comes in different than this estimate that I have.
Okay.
So it could, I mean, it's always a little dangerous to give the information out in case that for some strange reason they do something real crazy with the school tax credit that we're not expecting. But that's the final piece that we're waiting to hear from. And it may be tomorrow that we get that information, and if we do, I'd be happy to send the council an email and tell you where it came in. If it was higher, that would be great. If it was lower, it'll shift it a little bit there.
Yeah, that would be important, seeing as how we're trying to figure this all out now, and we're going to vote. So.
Yeah, it's always been unfortunate that we get these final pieces of information so late in the year. And we've got requirements to get our tax roll to the county. It's very early in December. So there's such a small window of time between when we get all our information for the actual tax rate versus when we're ready to roll and getting the tax bills out of here. Very, very small window of time.
So we're ready to roll.
We are.
We're all set.
Yes.
Our portion is set, which is down.
Yes.
And now we're hoping that other ones don't go up.
We're hoping that the tax credit is at least what I've got it here.
The tax,
yes.
The tax credit, yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you, Gene. Thank you, Counselor. Any further discussion? Heard a motion, a second to approve. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Item 10.2 is the resolution ordering a special election to fill the remainder of the term for the 10th District Aldermanic position.
Heard the motion, a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 10.3 is the resolution introduced by the Chief Building Inspector revising contractor registration, annual and renewal fees.
Heard the motion, a second. Discussion? All in favor? Counselor?
Thanks, Mayor. Pete, what have you based all this on? How much have you talked with the contractors themselves, all these people that are going to be affected by all this? What kind of input have you gotten, and what kind of information have you gotten out to them so that they know about this? Yeah, please.
Dan Curran is in Madison tonight, taking care of other responsibilities. As far as the change to the contractor, the existing fee was $100 for new contractor registration. The past renewal fee was $75. So the change is really, if for those who register early, it's actually a reduction from the 75 down to 50. For those who do not register early, it's a $25 increase. So at the it might balance out, depends on how responsible or how aggressively pursue their registration. So we've always had a contractor registration. The initial fee was always $100. It's been in place for many years. As far as, I really don't know how many years, but 30, 40, long time. So, does that answer your question? If not, please rephrase it.
Well, yeah, and I guess, have you gotten this information out to them, you know, any of this change?
Oh.
Because of I guess with this discount that they're getting, and the deadline is, I forget, when is the deadline for them to?
January, December 31st has to be postmarked.
A calendar year, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So they would still have, our letters, our announcements, our forms are ready to go in the mail. I mean, we're within a couple days. They're already written pending your approval of this resolution. So the ordinance itself was, well, this resolution, I guess, is different, but the ordinance, as far as requiring registration, that was part of our Chapter 34. It's been part of our building code, and it was brought forward in the building code that was recreated this summer. The actual announcement of a fee change has not gone out. This
Okay.
is,
I think it would
until
be-
it's approved, we could not send it out.
Yeah, well, I guess it would be important for them to know that they could, you know, we're going to get this break if they do it before the deadline.
Every contractor that's presently registered will be getting a letter,
Okay.
hopefully by this weekend.
All
It
right.
should be going out this week.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Pete. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Item 12.1, Victoria Main from the Twin Ports stage is requesting that this be withdrawn at this time. They're going to bring this back to the first meeting in December, so there's no action needed on that.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn unless it's further business. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned. We'll reconvene in minutes, 7 o'clock for committee of the whole. Unless you want to break.
We'll call the Committee of the Whole meeting to order at this time. And
Make a note that we have everyone is present.
that everyone is still present, so we're set to go then.
Item number 1 was referred from the October 15th Committee of the Whole meeting with power to act. Assistant Public Works Director Janico had requested the council consider which, if any, or all of the 62 crossing locations should receive supplemental safety measures in order to establish quiet zones. In your packet tonight, he did submit, as requested by the council, a 5-year plan advising if the council deems the quiet zones a higher priority than other projects in the updated 2012-2017 CIP, that there are 2 options to allocate the necessary funding: add the quiet zone funding and reduce another project, or add the quiet zone funding and increase the debt to be issued.
Say, Todd, first of all, thank you for all the legwork on this, and all of the small print, too. But I understand. Did you want to make a few comments on this first?
I guess I can. We've been looking at quiet zones and talking about them for quite a while now. I did recently have another angle on a particular crossing that I tried. Somebody had beat me to the punch and had informed the Office of the Commissioner of Railroads that we wanted to be a quiet zone rather than a safety project. So I was met with some resistance down there. But I did call the OCR, and since we had the constant warning timing waiver, should reduce the cost at the intersection and at the crossing and make it more reasonable as the cost benefit ratio as a project. It was looked at before and thrown out then. So in the meantime, they had sent an inspector up to look at the crossing, and their viewpoint on the crossing is close it. That's coming from OCR, so they kind of chuckled. You want to do what? Just close it. You got a bridge 7 blocks away. So that's what OCR is telling us. I went through and took. If you look at probably that first small spreadsheet, I guess, there's some of we talked about a 10 or more a day. In order to create a quiet zone, the memo that came at the last meeting It's kind of a half a mile is what they use as a measuring stick. So if you have one crossing and then another crossing 3 blocks away, if you make one quiet, you can't leave the other one. You have to make it a zone. A quiet zone isn't one crossing, I guess is the take-home. So I put together in groups, in areas based on volumes. I took the GIS and I put a half-mile buffer around each crossing. So the number of residential properties within 1/2 mile of that crossing is taken into consideration. The number of trains per day, I made kind of I guess, an arbitrary number of trains per day times the number of houses to give just a number to work with, something to scale off of. So the highest, I guess, the priority, the most important crossing in this regard would be the one with the most houses and the most trains per day, that multiple, and that just gives you a number to sort them with. And with those numbers, I went through, and if you look at the pages following, a map of year 1, year 2, year 3, what a program like that would look like. And obviously what it would cost. There's still, I actually talked to Jeff Brandt here within the last week. There is no money tree out there. We've been looking. He's a staffer for
Senator Joe.
Senator Joe. We're looking, and there's nothing out there. So this is where we're at. We've either got to proceed forward with something or not, I guess.
Okay. Councilors, any questions? Councilor Dahlbeck is first.
I would just like to say I've lived with this for practically all my life, and at the cost of going to live without it, I don't think so. I don't think the city can afford to go through all that expense to make quiet zones at this point. I mean, if, like you say, if we developed a money tree, fine, but right now I don't know how it possibly we could afford it. We're just going to have to get used to it. I'm sorry, but that's what we are doing right now, and we're just going to have to continue.
I think next is Councilor Herrick.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, Todd, when you talk about the number of trains, is that the full trains on a normal run, or is that including locomotives going back and forth across that crossing?
I thought I spelled it out in one of those memos, because I don't believe all of the numbers that at the train volume per day. The train volume per day is what is listed in the it's a FRA DOT railroad conglomeration. They do a crossing inventory form that it's a standard 3-page, and everyone in the country has the same stuff on it. And one of those items is traffic volume per day, trains per day. Has all that information on there. So rather than trying to guess or trying to say, well, I think this one might be more standardized, I use that crossing inventory form and use the trains per day off of that form. And now, as years change, as supply and demand and train volumes changes, those will probably change. But those are a 2011, 2010 era data. So in particular, the 28th Street crossing, there is a line item for switching traffic, and the switching traffic at the 28th Street crossing is listed as 0. So, again, I know they're not always accurate, but in order to be consistent, that's the number I had to use.
All right, thanks.
Councilor McDonald?
Yes, I would like to motion that we go forward with the 2014 CIP update with no funding for the railroad quiet zones.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded by Councilor Sweeney. Any other comments? Seeing no lights, and one thing that I forgot to mention was I will reserve my right to comment and also to vote. Oh, Councilor McKenzie, it was not on 15 seconds ago.
Yeah, Todd, I really appreciate what you've done. I mean, it's just a tremendous amount of work that you've done. You and I have worked together on this, and there's been a lot of correspondence, a lot of emails, a lot of letters, phone calls, and of course, there's really a lot of complaints. The problem is, and like Esther says, you don't have the money, And it's a real shame that we can't do anything because residents, because I know my district, and there's residents, I'm actually one of them because I'm pretty close to the switching yard there. But the people there on Elmira and in that area, there's a lot of homes right there that are devastated by this, because when they blow the horns, it's like it's right in their house, and it's going on all day long. It was Mike can contest to this. It was all weekend long, all hours of the night. The only problem is, with all those emails, with all those phone calls and letters that we've dealt with, we found out that the FRA is someone that doesn't answer to anybody. They're more powerful than Congress. They're more powerful than the Senate. It's amazing, the power and the leverage that they have. I guess what's really a shame, I think, and I hear this over and over from railroad workers, from people that are out there, that the city dropped the ball many years ago. Many years ago, when I read this information, Mayor, that you had, and talking about 1957, if we would have done something 40 years ago, or 30 years ago, or 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, to start creating some sort of a fund that we could do something about these crossings, it would have been fantastic. I guess, living with this is kind of hard to tell people to do that. Maybe new people coming in, they know that we have these issues, and it'll be up to them to decide whether they want to move here or not. But people who have established themselves and have lived here and paid taxes, and now they have to put up with this. And so I guess that's what I want. That's all I really wanted to say. I know we can't do nothing because we need the money. Closing crossings is difficult too. It would be nice to just say, let's close 28th Street, but we have problems there with fire. People out on Billings Drive, or anybody, the convenience of going over 28th Street. Or the other thing would be putting an overpass there, and then bucks. So just wanted to get that out there. I wish we had this. I keep hearing the money tree. I wish we had it. I wish we could do something right now. I'm not sure what to do, but I know I'm going to keep getting these phone calls from the people who are frustrated, and again, I'm one of them. So, but thanks for everything that you guys, Jeff. Thank you very much.
Councilor Sweeney?
Thank you. My perspective is, I'm coming, the other day I attended the managers meeting, and it was very enlightening. I applaud them all. They all did a great job. They listed their top 3 priorities, and I didn't realize that some of the things were on the back burner because we just haven't had the money. So my priority is the professionals' priority, which is our managers. They listed all 3 for every department. Some things are, and I'm just going to, maybe we all know this, but the 5 items that came in a collective word was infrastructure, technology, equipment, human capital, which means wages, hiring new people, those things. So I think we have to trust our management to tell us what they need. They know what we need, and so one must say trust and verify, an old term that somebody made, and I have thought about that, and the method to verify that is perhaps to get a report on a quarterly basis from these managers when this goes forward. So long story, I'm opposed to this railroad because we don't have the money, and if we did have the money, we have our priorities set for us now at this date. So thank you.
Thank you. I believe Councilor Herrick and then Councilor Finsland.
No, actually, Councilor Finsland was first.
Okay, Councilor
I guess
Finsland.
a couple of us didn't understand the motion. We'd like that clarified.
Well, the motion was from Denise and seconded by Councilor Sweeney to move forward with the 2014 CIP budget with no funding for the railroad crossing quiet zones.
Anything else, Councilor Finsland? No? Okay, Councilor Herrick?
Yeah, again, I want to thank you for all your work. I just want to throw something out there with the information that you had given us. I guess I'm getting nitpicky, but it says here, currently federal standards mandate the conditions which will prevent a train from sounding a horn at highway rail crossings. According to definitions, a highway system is a road that connects one city to another city, whereas this isn't, like any of the roads around here, at least at this point, like 28th Street, for example, is not those conditions. So what, I mean, again, I don't know if you saw that or not, or if you, I guess I'm just grasping for something maybe that can help our cause, so.
My 2 cents on that would be it's a common terminology. If it was an alleyway, it would still be considered a highway. Highway in the transportation definition is a high speed, high volume. Highway from the railroad standpoint is anything that has tires on it that goes across. So I can certainly look into the definition, and there may be an angle there, but I agree with you as far as the straws go.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, they call them highway rail grade crossings. There's private, there's public. That's the other thing about some of the quiet zones. We don't have control over the private ones, which may be right next to the public ones, like out on the Winter Street corridor, out towards out in Billings Park in that area. But yeah, a highway is, like I said, I believe in their definition is something other than a train that crosses the tracks on tires rather than on rails.
All right, thanks. And I'm also assuming that because it's a federal type, that a noise ordinance wouldn't be in effect for the railroads?
No.
I didn't think so. But
I think that was started back in about, like I think you mentioned, 1957. That started. There was a noise ordinance in place in the city in, I believe, 1971. And then once the federal government, I don't remember exactly how it went, but the federal government decided that because of the number of highway rail crashes, that they needed to do something about it and make a rule. So rather than it being each community, they went together federally and made this rule after, I think 4 or 5 years it took them to go through and study it to determine what the best outcome was going to be. And I believe in some cases it's a good outcome because of how we're set up as a community. I don't think it really qualifies for us. I probably said this to everybody, but in a town that you have a set of tracks going through where you've got a loaded train a mile long doing 50 miles an hour, I've got no trouble with the horn sounding at that intersection.
Sure.
But if you've got one engine going back and forth across, it doesn't seem like it's comparable. So.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Olson?
Todd, just real quick, if we pass this resolution to move forward, I'd like to comment on the fact that you guys did a hell of a job getting this information out to all of us. We all came to you with a request that had passion with it for the areas that we live in, and not, small print or not. You got a lot more print on a piece of paper with small print, right? You could add 5 words on there. To touch on what Esther said, I'm from a railroad family too, and the items that we've got going on, the things that we need to approve in the future, whether it's CIP, whether it's the landfill, the mayor and I have talked about these things. Tomorrow, and I've said this at the council floor too, tomorrow there'll be another problem, and we're going to have to address that. So I just want to thank both you and Jeff. I know, Todd, you put a lot of time and effort into this yourself, and I guess what I would ask is that when we're done, if we approve this, let's not receive and file it, but we keep it somewhere that we can continually look, and that we check with the FRA if their requirements change, or if funding becomes available, whether it's in a political atmosphere or just things change. I really appreciate what you've done so far, and I don't see this as it going to waste, but let's keep it on a burner, if so. Thank you.
I guess as far as next steps go, the next step for Jeff and I will be probably a conference call with SRF Consulting, who is the consulting firm that did some of the work. They're the experts on it. The documents that they put together and stuff. They were here with the railroad representatives, the FRA, the DOT at that time. The next step is to take what we have and make sure that we don't lose what we have. We did that in. It was a few years ago, and when the North End went, what can we do, what can't we do? And it had already, the ship had already sailed. So, but keeping up with the 20 or so pre-roll quiet zones that we have, if we need to put a different sign out there or something to make sure that we don't lose those and turn around, a sign is cheaper than $400,000 for lights and gates. But make sure we're staying ahead of those. And then, like you said, if there's some type of federal funding or anything that comes up that we would be able to fund some crossings with, we'll certainly keep our eyes open for that. But the biggest thing right now is going to be to keep what we have, hold on to what we have, and not lose it.
Anyone else? If not, I just want to, I said that at the outset too, and I was just being facetious talking about small numbers, because now it's just going like this. They become automatically bigger on the iPad. But this really was a lot of work on your part. And the other thing is, I believe it's December 10th, but it might be December 11th, that the leadership, Superior Douglas County leadership class is going to be meeting here. And I know the mayor and I will, and Councilor McDonald will be involved in that. And so when our federal representatives are here, I think we can ask some very pointed questions like, what can you do for us? So again, thank you for that. So it's time to vote. All in favor of Councilor McDonald's motion, say aye. Those opposed, same sign. No one opposed, motion carries. Okay, then second business item.
Item number 2 was referred from the November 19th meeting with Power to Act. Finance Director Vito is requesting the City Council formally approve the updated 2014 CIP with a tentative approval of the updated 2015 through 17 CIP and providing options for the council if funding to establish new quiet zone is deemed priority.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the council?
Motion to approve. Isn't that kind of what I motioned in the first one?
Could I clarify?
Yeah, but you still need to, go ahead.
Yeah, just for clarification, we have a number of changes to many other parts of the CIP that we need the second agenda item for, so that's what this is here.
Okay, so it's been moved. Is there a second? I'll second. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Now, further discussion. Jean, did you want to say a few words on this?
Just one comment. I did another handout tonight, and I thought that this would come up more under the quiet zone discussion, but this can really be used in any situation where the city's issuing debt. I'm just kind of calling it a cheat sheet for debt. If you want to know, like Councilor Bender, I know you're often wanting to know what is the effect on a $100,000 home for one decision or another. So I don't know if anybody wants me to go through this at this time, but what you can do is, I'll just make an example here. We'll do a real easy one. If the city was going to issue $1 million in debt over 10 years, that's the top section here, and then you could just find your value of your home and go right over to what that dollar amount would be, and that would be the estimated annual tax increase for that decision. And so I did a variety of different sizes of debt issuances, anywhere between $1 million to $5 million. Then I also did it over a 20-year term repayment, because within our CIP there are items like equipment that if we have to issue debt for that, we would do it shorter, like 10 years to match the life of the asset, whereas for some of our bigger road projects we would go under the 20-year because they generally last longer. So I'll just FYI for you. And then the actual agenda item, a lot of this was discussed at the retreat, and so all of the highlighted figures are the changes that we're requesting tonight, and it sounds like there's already the motion to do that.
And say, Jean, if I could make an arithmetical comment on this, which I don't say that is right, but doing some figuring on here at the end of 2014, when we compare the revenue to expenditures, we would be about 300,000 to the good, or 300,000 to the positive?
Yeah, it could be. They don't actually you won't find each year matching up exactly. And looking at 2012, we had a large issuance of debt, and that money didn't or doesn't get spent for sometimes 2 years after that. So over the course of the 6 years, revenue equals expenditures, but there are cash flow fluctuations between the years or among the years.
Right, and that was the one thing that I was going to ask about, because doing all of the figures at the bottom of the page, it does come out as a wash.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yep, correct.
So any counselors wish to comment? Counselor Olson?
Gene, I had a little bit of confusion, and it's probably just me, but when we're looking at approving the updated 2014 CIP with tentative approval of the updated 2015 through 2017, what is the definition of a tentative?
Well, what we do is tentative is more used for planning, and in general, those projects will get approved. But we use the word tentative just to keep it a little more flexible in case other issues do come up. For example, if you approved formally all 4 years, I guess it's still possible that you could change those projects in the future. But if you, for example, gave Jeff approval to do a road project that was maybe in one of the later years, maybe he starts design work on that a little early, and what if, for whatever reason, that project, we have to take it off the list because something else comes up and it's a higher priority? I don't think you're boxed in either way you do it. If you did a formal approval for every year, you can still change it. So we've just always, just wording we've used in the past, that we're formally approving 1 year at a time and that we tentatively plan for the following years.
So my second question would be is why do we even need to tentatively approve anything if the flexibility of changing projects exists?
Well, any of the CIPs, the programs that we adopt, I bet they come back. This is the 5th revision of this current 6-year program. And I think it's just good for planning purposes that we have somewhat committed that we're going to do this, that, and the other thing. For example, the Belknap project. We want to get those on the list. They've been deemed a priority. And by getting at least the, quote, tentative approval of that, we know that's on the list, and we expect that to stay on there. And until, or if something else came around and it was deemed to be a higher priority, maybe it would have to come off. But it gives kind of mixing up my words here, but it gives it a little more formal understanding that we have those projects in mind for those years.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Herrick?
Yeah, just one quick question. Gene, on the 2014, there seems to be a lot of the CIP improvements. I take it since we already approved the budget and everything, those are included in the 2014 budget? Are those going to change, or are they going to stay constant like they are?
This is, you just approved the revised 2014. I'm not sure if I'm going to answer your question right, but assuming the motion passes, these are now the updated projects.
So I guess basically the question is, these are budgeted then in our budget for 2014?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, what is the pleasure of the council? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign? No. Okay. Anything else to come before the council, the committee of the whole? If not, you know what's in order. All in favor?